Today we're gonna make an
Anemometer,
or a wind gauge, much easier for me to pronounce, but this won't be a typical wind gauge you've seen before. In fact, mine doesn't even look like one. Still, it measures wind speed and direction pretty darn well, and it does all of this without any moving parts, which I hope will significantly extend its lifespan. P.S. This project is completely open source, so if you wanna build it yourself, grab my files and go for it. The job of a wind gauge, surprise surprise, is to figure out how hard the wind is blowing and which way. Usually we use devices like this old thing I pulled off my roof after 5 years of service. On one side it's got these little caps that spin in the wind, and on the other an arrow that points where the wind is coming from. They are cheap and straightforward in operation. Just measure the rotation speed and direction of this thing and you are set. The downsides are somewhat complicated mechanical construction, generally low resolution, especially for the wind direction, and sensitivity to stuff like dust, ice, or even spider webs, which over time may hinder its operation. Then there's ultrasonic wind gauge, fancy tech that avoids those issues. It measures how fast ultrasonic waves travel between sensors affected by the wind. It's super accurate and fast, but the price tag is astronomical, and I honestly don't get why. It must be some kind of secret alien technology or something. My wind gauge, on the other hand, works on a completely different principle, but it's also resistant to contaminants and it's just as fast and precise. There's nothing like this commercially available right now, so I can't compare prices, but if you have access to a 3D printer and you aren't afraid of some basic soldering, you can build it yourself for peanuts. But how does it actually work? The components responsible for physical measurements are strain gauges. They are sensors that change resistance when stretched or compressed, allowing us to measure mechanical stress. So I just needed to design a device that's sensitive to wind and depending on its speed and direction will cause some mechanical stress that I can measure using these guys. A very simplified model of such device might look like this. When the force acts on a rigid column attached to an elastic base, it causes it to bend. The greater the force, the more it bends. By measuring this bending in two cardinal directions, north-south and east-west, we can precisely calculate wind speed and direction. There's some math involved in that, but I'll spare you the details here. Check out my website for all that nitty-gritty. However, this would only work if we plan to use this wind gauge in a lab with controlled and constant temperature, which, let's be honest, would be totally stupid. As you might remember for physics class, everything expands or contracts due to temperature changes. If something's cold, it shrinks. And if it's warm, it expands. So in this setup, the device would be completely useless, because we wouldn't be able to distinguish between changes in the wind speed and temperature. Fortunately, there's a pretty simple way to eliminate its influence entirely. Just double the number of strain gauges. That way, if the temperature rises and the material they are attached expands, all the sensors should react the same. A quick subtraction and the temperature changes won't be an issue anymore. There's one more advantage of using two sensors. If we place them on opposite sides of the column, as one stretches, another one compresses. This way we not only eliminate the impact of the temperature, but we also double the sensitivity, because the total change in resistance will be twice as much. Two birds with one stone. Alright, enough theory. Here's the final model. The most important element is this big, weird, omnidirectional sail. Its shape and dimension determine the resistance it offers to the wind. The bigger it is, the more sensitive the anemometer will be, but it also has more inertia, so it gets sluggish. I had to do quite a bit of testing to find the optimal shape. Instead of printing several different versions, I made a universal test model where I can swap out different sheets to create new sails. Now, as much as I love 3D printing, sometimes there's a quicker way to get things done. Printing each version would have taken hours, but with the rich tech I could cut that down to minutes. That's where lasers come into play. Speaking of which, I've got to show off my newest and coolest toy in the workshop. A CO2 laser cutter I got from the folks over at MakeBlock. It's called X-Tool P2 and it's amazing. It cuts acrylic sheets like a hot knife through butter, which was a total game changer for prototyping this project. It seriously saved me so much time and lets me iterate way faster. I'll spill all the juicy details about this laser in another video, but for now, let's laser cut a new sail. Cutting a full set of sheets takes about 90 seconds. side note, one of my first designs was this. And even though I didn't end up using it because it was too flimsy, I thought I'd still show it to you guys because honestly, it looks freaking awesome. At least to me. Alright, let's go back to the video. After many tests, I settled on the optimal sail and I printed it. I simulated various wind conditions using different fans, from a light breeze, a moderate wind, and a small hurricane. The sail is mounted on an aluminum tube, which provides stiffness without adding significant weight. This way, the wind will deform the elastic crossbeam more than the post, which is exactly what we want. The crossbeam, an absolutely crucial element that affects the wind gauge's accuracy and sensitivity. This is where strain gauges will be attached. Gluing them, after watching a few tutorials on YouTube, turned out not to be too difficult. Crossbeam needs to be strong yet flexible, and preferably thin. I decided to use material similar to that used in a classic PCBs. And thanks to JLC PCB, the sponsor of this project, I was able to try out many different options. Different thicknesses, ranging from 0.4 to 2 mm, as well as various materials, like classic fiberglass or aluminum. I also tested whether I could make a strain gauge myself. To do this, I designed ultra-thin 0.09 mm traces directly on a copper layer. It looked cool, way to go JLC, but it didn't perform as well as classic strain gauge, so I quickly abandoned the idea. The problem obviously wasn't the PCB quality, but rather my concept from the beginning. JLC also made the main PCB for me. Ordering it on their website was super easy. Just upload the Gerber files and select a few parameters like type, thickness of the board, solder mask color and surface finish. If you have a hot plate or an oven, you can also get a stencil. There's no better and faster way to solder SMD components. Just don't use your kitchen oven for this. Your wife not gonna be thrilled. And that's it. After about a week, the package should be at your door. Thanks JLC PCB. On the electronic side, it's pretty straightforward. An ESP32 communicates with a 4-channel ADC chip via I2C. Each strain gauge has its own channel, and the chip measures differential values, which is perfect for our needs. There's also an LED for signals. In my case, a blink means calibration is done, but for you, it can mean whatever you want. And that's it. Told you it wasn't too complicated. The last element is the base, that holds everything together. This is where the PCB goes and where the crossbeam is attached. It's also a part that will be attached to the mounting surface. And since it's pretty important for it to be level, I added a small spirit level and adjustable legs. Since I personally use Home Assistant, I decided to go with ESP Home as a middleman. I think it's the easiest option. ESP Home supports the ADC chip I choose out of the box. While the configuration itself isn't too complicated, there's a bit of math involved, which, as I mentioned before, isn't exactly entertaining for YouTube. Check out my website for more details. Link in the description. To show the result on my Home Assistant dashboard, I use what I think is the best card out there right now. It doesn't just show the current wind speed and direction, it also averages them and presents the info in a more practical way. Additionally, you can set a background picture of your house to easily see which direction wind is blowing. Now, there's one more thing we need to clear up. The speed I calculated in ESP Home doesn't have a unit, it's just a raw value. But on the diagram, the values show up in the kilometers per hour. The raw values come from voltage changes caused by resistance shift in 4 strain gauges. These depend on things like flexibility of the crossbeam, the sail's shape and size, and of course the wind speed itself. There are just too many factors to calculate wind speed directly in useful units from all of that. But there's a simpler way, though that doesn't mean it's trivial. To convert the raw data from the sensor, I compared it with readings from a commercial Anemometer. Unfortunately, it turned out that the relationship between them isn't linear, so instead of a straightforward coefficient, I need a power function. And that meant a few more calculations. But hey, these days you don't need a PhD to pull it off, right? So if you haven't changed anything in the project and build it the same way, you can use my coefficient. Otherwise, you'll need to run your own tests. The wind gauge has been working for me flawlessly for over the past few weeks. I haven't encountered any issues at all. On my main dashboard, I have a sleek and clear indicator that shows both the wind speed and direction. It's been a great addition to my setup, and I'm really happy how well it's performing. This anemometer and the rain gauge I made some time ago are steps on the way to a full-fledged weather station. Because let's face it, every smart home needs one, right? Anyway, if the video is ready, you will see it here. If not, something else will pop up. Alright, thank you for watching and see you in the next one.